If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that we like to avoid crystal malts like the plague. So today I'm going to be giving you 7 malts that I like to use as a substitute for crystal or caramel type malts. To start off with, let's go with my favorite universal malts to substitute pretty much anytime that I see crystal malt in a recipe or in a style idea, and that is Special X. How I like to use Special X is, let's say I have a recipe that calls for a pound, just for example, of C60. Since I know that the Special X is a 120, I'll half that amount and I'll use about, let's say, a half pound of Special X. What this does is it gives me more utility to be able to work in creating depth of flavor in my recipe with other malts, and I don't have to worry about that color creating malt because this is highly, highly colorful and very, very vibrant. So it's a beautiful malt. It has fantastic color, and it also is dark enough that you can substitute a little bit of that for a bit of a smaller crystal malt. Second, let's talk about Carapils, because Carapils is a glassified malt, meaning that it is crystal adjacent, and a lot of people ask me what I think about Carapils, and if I use it. I don't. I will 100% of the time substitute Carapils for a malt called Chit. Chit is highly dextrinous as well. It has a lot of proteins, which means it will help puff up your beer and add body to your beer, but Chit is an under-modified Pilsner grain, basically, and so it's not only high in proteins, but it also is highly enzymatic, and it just has more of a nice grainy flavor that I think blends in with a lot of beer. So 100% of the time, if I see Dextrapils or Carapils in a recipe, I will take that out and substitute it for Chit. Now that I've told you some of my favorite substitutions for crystal type malts, let's start on the light end and kind of work our way down in some other substitutions that I'd like to make. The first, if I see anything on the lighter end in the crystal malt world, let's say C30 and below, I'll probably always substitute that for caramel pills. Caramel Pills is crystal adjacent. It's also very similar to a malt called Carahel, but again, it's not super sweet. It has a nice grainy texture and a little bit of honey-like nice light sweetness. It's also not super colorful, so it's an easy one to blend into things like, let's say you want a little added dimension to an IPA or a blonde ale or anything that's supposed to be light and not have that crystal sweetness to it. I'll almost always go with Caramel Pills over any light crystal. After Caramel Pills, going down the darkened scale, we have Red X. Red X comes in around 20 to 25 Lovibond, and it's a great substitute for any crystal in the same realm. Red X is actually more Munich adjacent than crystal adjacent, and so it doesn't have a lot of the cloying sweetness that crystal malts can give you. And Red X is designed to have a phenomenal red color, meaning it is going to color your beer a lot more than it's going to add flavor. I like this because there's a lot of beers that need to go into that medium to medium dark range, so using Red X will be a better substitution without adding too much sweetness to your beer and still giving it some depth and complexity. Going one step sweeter, that's one step closer to a crystal malt than something like Red X, we have Caravien. Caravien's kind of a hybrid style malt. It's basically modified to the point so that some of the liquefied sugars are caramelized in the malt, but it also carries some bready, toasty flavors. So Caravien is going to be similar to a crystal 20 to 30 range, but instead of just giving you straight sweetness, it'll give you a little bit of sweetness and a little bit of biscuit/Munich complexity. So the next malt that I like to substitute commonly for crystal type malts is called Kerastem, formerly Sacra 50. This malt is a proprietary malting style from Great Western Malting Company where they incorporate moisture into the grains during the kilning process in a way that really highly develops the color without giving the same crystal type sweetness as something like a crystal malt in the 40 to 60 Lovibond would do. We've actually used this malt before. If you have seen our Steam IPA video, that was probably 2 or 3 years ago. So if you want to take a look at what just this malt gives in terms of color, check out that. The final malt that I think is a great substitution for anything in that 60 Lovibond crystal world is going to be Caramnic. Much like Caravien, Caramnic is kilned in a way that blends malts that are going to be crystallized and have that caramelized sugar in them with malts that are going to have that intense biscuit note. So Caramnic is a great way to substitute a malt for something in that anywhere from C60 to C75 range, and it will give you a phenomenal color without over sweetening your beer. So a good substitute for adding depth of flavor, extra character, and extra complexity to something like the middle of a porter, or even just by itself in a darker or red IPA. That sums up the malts that I like to substitute for crystal type malts. If you disagree with me, feel free to yell at me in the comments below. If you don't disagree with me and you love these suggestions, then give me praise in the comments below. If you want to buy our swag merch stuff, we have that out on our website, genusbrewing.com. And again, we always encourage you to reach out to us on Facebook with any questions, or follow us on Instagram if you want to see what's going on in our day-to-day life. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and like this video, and we'll see you in the next one.